Hold on to your seats, family, because the political gridiron in Springfield is officially turning into a certified luxury drama, and nobody out there is truly ready for the pure, unadulterated chess match currently brewing over where the Chicago Bears are going to hang their helmets for the next century. Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Fave, dropping the ultimate truths, and today we are shifting gears completely from the locker room to the state capitol, because the stadium saga just hit absolute hyperdrive. If you have been following the news coming out of the executive office, you know the heat is officially on, and the state of Illinois is scrambling like a quarterback facing a zero blitz. I am breaking down all the brand new stadium developments with you right now, but before we dive deep into the political trenches, if you want a chance to win a fresh Caleb Williams jersey, all you have to do is smash that like button on this video. Leave a comment down below saying, "Let's go to get some hurry up down in Springfield," and make sure you are subscribed to the channel to catch every single breaking update on the monsters of the Midway. Let us get something straight right out of the gate. The threat of the Chicago Bears packing up their bags and fleeing across state lines to Hammond, Indiana, has officially lit a massive fire under the legislature in Springfield. Just days after the Bears dropped a bombshell announcement stating they were moving forward with exploring stadium plans in Indiana. Due to the lack of tax certainty in Illinois, the politicians are completely panicking. Governor J.B. Pritzker walked right up to the microphone and made it known that a special summer legislative session is officially on the table. He explicitly stated that he is not suggesting the state just sits back and waits around. If the leaders of the House and the Senate can actually get both sides of the aisle to rally around a single unified piece of legislation, Pritzker is fully prepared to call everyone back to Springfield to lock the Bears down in Illinois permanently. Now look, let us analyze what is happening behind the scenes, because Fave does not sugarcoat reality. The Bears currently own the land at the old Arlington Park racetrack in Arlington Heights, which means they are already miles ahead of any hypothetical development over in Indiana, where local municipalities are still trying to figure out an exact blueprint. Hammond is a leverage play, family, and it is working perfectly. The Bears are playing the long game, waiting out the state of Illinois to see if the politicians can cook up a deal that protects the franchise's multi-billion-dollar investment while keeping the team happy. But Governor Pritzker is holding his ground on one absolute, unbreakable condition. The state is not going to raise a single cent in taxes on regular citizens to fund a privately owned stadium for a billionaire ownership group. Pritzker made it crystal clear to reporters that his #1 priority is protecting the taxpayers of Illinois, calling it a mistake for anyone to question his full commitment to a deal, but drawing a hard line in the sand against public handouts. And honestly, my personal opinion, I completely agree with the governor here. We are already taxed into oblivion in this state, and while I want the Bears to stay in Illinois more than anything, the franchise is valued at over $8 billion, and they are already willing to commit $2 billion of their own cash. They do not need to dip into the pockets of regular working families to get this palace built. The real drama, however, lies in the fact that two brand new competing legislative proposals were just unveiled in Springfield by House Republicans, trying to jumpstart the stalled negotiations. The first major piece of legislation hitting the floor is a massive statewide pilot framework offered up by State Representative Dan Ugaste out of Geneva. Now, for those who do not speak fluent political jargon, a pilot program means a payment in lieu of taxes, which allows a mega developer to bypass standard property tax uncertainty by negotiating fixed payments directly with local municipal taxing bodies like school districts. Ugaste's new bill takes the original infrastructure model that passed the House earlier this spring and adds some serious high-level restrictions. Specifically, this new proposal raises the minimum private investment threshold required to qualify as an official corporate megaproject from $100 million all the way up to a staggering $500 million. Now, that massive jump has absolutely zero negative impact on the Chicago Bears, considering the team is already planning to drop billions on the stadium itself. The bill also strictly mandates that the project must be for pure commercial use and completely bans data centers from taking advantage of the tax breaks. But here is the ultimate twist that fixes a massive community headache. Ugaste's plan completely prevents a development from qualifying if it includes any residential housing. Think about how brilliant that adjustment is from a local community standpoint. One of the biggest complaints coming out of the northwest suburbs was that if the Bears built a massive residential community on that 326-acre plot, a wave of new families would flood the local school systems, driving up operational costs and forcing local residents to shoulder higher school tax levies. By stripping residential housing completely out of the mega project equation, Ugaste is protecting the local school districts from incurring massive, unexpected financial strain while still paving a clear path for a world-class stadium and entertainment district. The only major snag here is that Governor Pritzker has historically been highly skeptical of using pilot programs for stadium deals. But given the massive pressure to keep a historic franchise from escaping to Indiana, compromises are going to have to be made. But hold on, because that is only half of the story. There is a second competing proposal on the table that is getting a ton of backroom buzz, and it is being called the Arlington Heights Only Plan, brought forward by State Representative Martin McLaughlin. This bill is music to the ears of traditional football fans because it completely tosses the complex pilot framework out the window. Instead, McLaughlin's plan authorizes the Chicago Bears to spend up to $2.5 billion to build a stadium that the franchise would fully own, while mandating that the state of Illinois steps up to contribute $1.2 billion strictly toward regional infrastructure improvements around the site. To solve the ultimate question of property tax certainty that has been driving the Bears ownership group completely insane for the past 3 years, McLaughlin's bill implements a beautifully simple mechanism. It freezes the foundational value of the land and locks in a steady, highly predictable 2.5% annual valuation increase over the course of a 30-year deal. No surprises, no rogue county assessors hijacking the numbers, just pure corporate certainty. To protect the local communities from getting squeezed, the bill also establishes an independent state oversight committee to ensure that local governments cannot secretly shift additional tax burdens onto nearby small businesses and residential homeowners. In my personal opinion, this Arlington Heights only proposal is a significantly cleaner, more viable option for all parties involved. It gives the Bears the exact financial predictability they need to secure their financing. It clears the way for a massive stadium that would host Super Bowls and Final Fours. And it explicitly protects the everyday citizens of Illinois from getting blindsided by tax hikes. The mayor of Arlington Heights, Jim Tenaglia, has been publicly urging the governor to step up and act like the ultimate. Right now, it looks like you have one politician running the football team outside the field, another
we need an
outside
outside kick, Josh Blackwell!
For the state's economy, he needs to set political parties aside, get the House and the Senate in the exact same film room, and iron out the details between these two proposals. The dream of an electric world-class stadium district in Arlington Heights is still very much alive, family, but the clock is ticking loud. Let us talk about what this means for the broader Chicago landscape, because you cannot talk about the Bears leaving town without talking about the massive hole it would tear in the heart of downtown tourism and civic pride. For decades, the lakefront has been the undisputed home of the monsters of the Midway. The freezing winter winds blowing off Lake Michigan, the historic columns of Soldier Field standing tall against the horizon, the sea of tailgaters filling up the parking lots along the museum campus. That is Chicago football culture at its absolute core. If this team moves out to the northwest suburbs, or worse across the state line to Indiana, that historic tie is severed forever. But the reality of modern sports business is a cold, calculated machine that does not care about nostalgia or your childhood memories. The Bears ownership group looks at modern structures around the league, palaces like SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles or Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, and they see multi-billion-dollar entertainment ecosystems that print money 365 days a year. They do not just want a football stadium that sits dark for 300 days out of the calendar. They want a mega district filled with premium hotels, high-end retail, state-of-the-art concert venues, and corporate conference spaces. You simply cannot build that kind of sprawling commercial empire on the protected, tightly restricted public land of the Chicago lakefront. The geographic limitations and the intense legal restrictions enforced by local park preservation groups have made any major expansion down there a complete non-starter. That is exactly why Arlington Heights became the ultimate promised land for the franchise. When they purchased that massive racetrack property, they finally had the canvas to paint their masterpiece. But the moment they closed on the deal, local school districts and county officials immediately looked at the transaction as a massive cash cow, hiking the property assessment to astronomical heights before a single shovel even hit the dirt. That corporate sticker shock is what brought this entire project to a grinding halt, forcing the Bears to look at neighboring states as a highly effective leverage play. Let us be completely real about Indiana's play here. Hammond is not just a random backup option. It is an aggressive, calculated ambush by a state that would love nothing more than to poach an iconic Illinois institution while waving a flag of corporate tax incentives. Indiana lawmakers have built a reputation for moving incredibly fast on corporate developments, offering massive tax abatements and rolling out the red carpet while Illinois politicians argue over committee rules. If the leadership in Springfield does not put their egos aside and construct a viable, legally sound framework within the next few months, the unthinkable could actually become a reality. The financial loss to the state of Illinois, in terms of future tourism revenue, major event bidding power, and overall economic prestige would be an absolute disaster that no politician could spin. The beauty of the McLaughlin proposal is that it addresses the core issue of trust. The Bears do not want a temporary tax break that can be stripped away the moment a new administration walks into the governor's mansion. They require long-term, institutional predictability to secure the massive private loans needed to construct a multi-billion-dollar facility. A fixed annual increase over 3 decades provides the exact financial safety net that corporate banks demand before signing off on major infrastructure investments. Simultaneously, creating an independent oversight committee ensures that local municipalities cannot simply use the Bears as a blank check to cover up their own fiscal mismanagement at the expense of regular, hardworking homeowners in the surrounding neighborhoods. This is the ultimate defining moment for Governor Pritzker's legislative legacy when it comes to economic development. He has successfully navigated massive corporate expansions before, but keeping the state's most beloved sports franchise from fleeing across the border is a completely different level of political pressure. The blueprint has been drawn up by the legislature, the options are clearly laid out on the table, and the Bears ownership group has shown their cards. They want to stay in Illinois, but they are absolutely refusing to be taken advantage of by local taxing bodies. The ball is entirely in Springfield's court now. I want to hear your raw thoughts down in the comments section below, family. Do you think the state should back McLaughlin's infrastructure plan, or do you think the Bears are officially destination-bound for Indiana? Sound off with your predictions, smash that like button, and hit subscribe to stay tuned to the channel. Bear down, baby.